So when it comes to reaching a low body fat percentage and getting down to 10 or 12% body fat, there's an endless list of mistakes that you could make. On that list, there are mistakes that you can make a lot of, still get to the goal, but then there are those that if you mess them up just once or twice, it's enough for you to struggle, to be stuck, and never get to the result you're looking for. And in this video, I'm talking about one of those that can make or break your plan, that if you mess this up, you're gonna have a very, very hard time on your journey. And this is based on my experience, having done this more than a decade, because I did mess this up at some point in my journey, but I've managed to overcome and I've gotten lean, I made it a sustainable lifestyle, also helped hundreds of clients do the same. And I wanna make sure that you can leverage this experience and this information to improve your approach to set yourself up for success. So no BS, no quick fixes, no gimmicks, just the truth that you need to maximize your results. So let's dive into it. So here's a typical scenario. You clean up your diet, you start eating healthier, you reduce your alcohol intake, you walk more, you're doing more resistance training, and you start seeing results. You start noticing the scale is dropping 1 pound to 2 pounds per week, you have high energy levels, you're more motivated than ever because you're seeing changes. And actually, the more weight you drop, the more motivated you are. And you're thinking, wow, if I just keep this up for the next 14 to 16 weeks, I'm gonna be in the best shape of my life. I'm gonna go back to my college years. This is gonna be amazing. But then what ends up happening after a month or so, and maybe even 2 months, you drop 1.5 pounds, and then 0. There's that week where the scale is flat. It doesn't budge, it doesn't change at all. And most people in this moment freak out. They overreact. And what they do, and they're thinking, metabolism must have adapted. I had some early success. It must be that. And I haven't changed my nutrition. I haven't changed my training. I haven't changed my steps. I have to make some changes now in order for that to continue working for me, because I got to go back to losing 1.5 pounds, and I got to go back in order to get to that goal in 16 weeks. And I start cutting calories, adding more cardio, they start doing more fasting, and they do a huge mistake because they now generate 2 major problems. And by the way, before we dive into these, do make sure to go below the video and destroy that like button as hard as possible. It means a lot to me to see your support. Please go ahead and do that right now. And problem number 1 is, they basically didn't realize that they have a limited amount of adjustments when dieting. Because when you're dieting a low calories, let's say you're on 2,000 calories, how many adjustments to calories do you think you have? 2, 3, 4? How many? Because think about it, you can go from 2,000 maybe to 1,700, 1,800, then to 1,500. Where do you go then? 1,200, 1,000? I mean, there's a limited amount of those adjustments. So those adjustments are very precious. You don't want to just blow through your adjustments immediately and cut calories aggressively, as there's nowhere else to go after that. And each time you make a calorie adjustment, you're making a diet that's harder. So each time you cut calories, consistency now becomes questionable. So you have to be very, very careful and very certain that it is time to cut calories. You don't want to just randomly do so when there's no clear data that that's the right decision to do. Now, problem number 2 is it actually works. But here's the issue. It works in the short term, but not in the long term. In the short term, yeah, sure, you drop some weight and you drop even more for the next 3-4 weeks, but then you start running into those consistency issues. Food drive is very high, hunger is very high, there's more slip-ups on the weekends now, binges, cheats, there's some snacking between the meals, there's some things that you're hiding, you're eating on the side, drink a little bit more, not accounting for it. And this overall consistency starts to suffer because you went from something that was relatively sustainable, that probably would have worked for you if you just been a little bit more patient, let the water weight go away, now to something that's hyper aggressive that you really can't sustain. And then now you're in a situation where you don't know what to do. Do you cut calories even more? Should you increase cardio, decrease cardio? Should you stop the diet? A lot of people end up mentally and physically burning out in that situation in just a couple of weeks, and then they fall off track completely, end up regaining the weight, end up back in the same position where they started because they've made a rash emotional decision without actually paying attention to the data, to give it enough time to see what decision was the right one to make. And if you're in that overhaul, overreactive mindset, I urge you to switch to a more iterative mindset. If you're in a stall for 5-6 days, Maybe you just need to get an hour extra sleep for a few days to get that stress level to go down, to flush out some of that excess water weight. Maybe you just need to do an extra 500 or 1,000 steps a day for 5-6 days in a row, and you would have seen the scale drop again. So it doesn't take a lot sometimes to see that change, and sometimes you don't need to do anything, and you just have to be a little bit more patient. And people don't want to hear this. And the reality is, you're not in full control of how much body fat you lose. And here's what I mean by this. The process of losing body fat is in your control, but the result of the process isn't. You can do only so much. You can only control the input. The output is not in your control. So we do our best, we dial things in, and then we hope that our things actually worked out. And then sometimes there's a little bit of a lag between the input and the output. And you have to develop that patience over time. Any successful dieter who stayed lean for a very, very long time, and I've seen this with hundreds of clients, had to develop and learn patience and consistency. And those are two things that people don't want to talk about. You can't bottle them up, you can't sell them as a supplement, but that's the truth. That's what you need to master. The decision-making process as you're getting leaner is the most critical thing, because if you're an emotional decision maker, you're going to have a very, very hard time to be successful on this journey. And what's going to help you is if you subscribe below, make sure to hit that bell icon to enable notifications. If you want to work with me personally as your coach to get that objective feedback, link is in the description below. Check that out, and I will see you in my next video.